Welcome to Gamebird Spotlight, a product of the North American Gamebird Association. I'm here today with our president, Mike Martz, and we are looking at, now that he's president, we're looking at the things that he thinks are important. This is the State of the Union or State of the Industry, and Mike talking to all of our members. Mike, you have just become president, and you and I were talking about different things that happen. First of all, I want to mention that I have a few little puppies back here that may make themselves known. So if you hear that in the background, that's what it is.
That'll just add character. That'll add character.
That's it. We're a hunting club. We're a hunting community. So there we are. Thank you for making time. And this is your chance to talk to our industry about the things that are important to you. So since my tagline here is that we're bringing ideas, information, issues, and inspiration, we're going to kind of just talk about those. You just became president. What do you see and what would you like to accomplish during your presidency?
Well, first of all, there's been a lot of things accomplished by NAGA before my presidency. And it's kind of like I'm a third generation operator on our game farm. And I'd always joke around with people when they say, what are your goals? And I'd say, well, not to mess anything up because we have a good thing going. And that's kind of how I feel about NAGA to a degree. But obviously, there are things that we'll move forward on naturally and react to different things and also be proactive on certain issues. Peg, you've done an excellent job. All the people that have come before me have done an excellent job as president. So I do take this job seriously. I know, I've talked about this before. I feel the biggest threat by far right now to our industry is high path AI. I know some people get, kind of like COVID fatigue. They get high path AI fatigue, but the fact of the matter is we have two options. We can bury our head in the sand and act like it doesn't exist, or we can try to meet it head on. So as a president, and I know we've done a lot of things over the last 2 years in your presidency too, dealing with this issue, but this is one that we need to meet head on. We need to continue on with our health committee, all our NAGA board members, as well as NAGA members. And we really need to make inroads. We've made a lot of inroads, but, one example would be, we've made so many inroads in your presidency with indemnity being one, with the USDA, the ones right now, could potentially be that's not finalized would be the breeder definition. And that's one thing that we definitely want to get established in my presidency to be able to protect, the breeders. Because obviously the breeder bird is much more value than a regular raised for release bird. Also, I think we need to make inroads, on regulations, like not get ourselves regulated out of business. Biosecurity plans are very important. We have to stress biosecurity as an industry and take it seriously. But we also need to, in cooperation with the USDA and our state agencies, we also need to come up with common sense solutions to biosecurity that's not going to put us out of business as growers, that the regulations, you know what I'm saying?
I do. I think that there are some very technologically advanced farms, and then you've got the mom and pop that have been around for 10 years and they can't get as advanced as others. So you're exactly right. We need to make sure that we are supporting those who are huge and those who are little, those who have flocks of, millions of birds and those who have 10,000, everything.
Right. And I think, the biggest thing is how can you demonstrate, how can you do something in a biosecure manner? Like a small mom and pop operation, that doesn't mean they have the right to just operate as like a backyard flock or a live bird market operator may. But if you can demonstrate that you can do common sense things to mitigate the chance of AI, I think that's where, hopefully where we can go and work cooperatively with the USDA and our state agencies on. I know in our situation, people can say what they want, about government agencies. Everybody has an opinion. But the folks we worked with here in our situation were very, very good to work with. They applied a lot of common sense, in my opinion. And if you could give a case and advocate for yourself, okay, they were willing to listen. It doesn't mean you'd get your way all the time. But, if you could advocate and say, look, we can do this biosecurely because this is what we do, they were usually willing to listen and have a, conversation about it. And that's really all you can ask.
Good. How much do you want to give that information on what you went through? You have firsthand experience of all the things, of all the times for you to become president. As you've gone through this and dealt with this, you have firsthand knowledge of the whole process, how to deal with the bureaucrats, and that. Can you relate to us? What stage are you in now? How you've survived this? You're all cleaned?
So, yeah. So that's one thing. I think you have three responsibilities when you're the owner and you're in a situation like this. First of all, they have done genome sequencing on our situation. This was not drug in from a delivery or anything of that nature. It was very consistent with a wild bird introduction on the genome sequencing. My guess would honestly be a hawk based on some things that happen around here. In addition, we were finding dead owls, within a 1 week prior to our diagnosis here. There was at least 4 different dead owls within half a mile from our farm that were found. The first one, I didn't think much about it. I saw it on the road. I saw another one that didn't quite look right. Thought that was weird, but ever since this started, we all look at things differently. Like you see something that doesn't look right.
Yes.
So long story short, we got diagnosed on December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. Obviously, we started depopulating the next day. Literally the next day. As soon as we got the diagnosis, we started consolidating birds into pens. But I remember, as the owner, I thought I was just sick for thinking about 3 things. Number one, our employees. Are we going to be able to keep everybody? Okay. That was my goal. And I promised our employees one way or the other, no matter what happened, they weren't going to lose their job, that we had all our ducks in a row with biosecurity plans and record keeping. Number 2 was, our customers just devastated. How do we keep them in business? And of course, number 3, and these are in no particular order because they're all 3 very important, was our neighbors. We have Montana Game Farm 3/4 of a mile away. We need to take care of this right away. Okay, we cannot increase the risk of it spreading over there. So those are the things that we looked at. Record keeping, I cannot stress enough how important that is from day one, from hatchery records until the time of depopulation. Hatchery records, feed records, very, very important. More so the feed being how much feed do you have there at the time. We had 100 ton of feed between what was in the pheasant pens and in the bins.
And you had to destroy even that feed.
We had to destroy the feed. All the feed got destroyed. All the feed got agravac'd out of our feeders, and we had to disinfect the feeders and the flight pens, everything. All the birds got depopulated on our premise. Now we have 6 different premise IDs. This was our main premise. This is another thing that's very important on splitting up premise IDs and having a biosecurity plan and a way to do that, because when they came in, they sort of made it seem like they may do all our premise. They wanted to depopulate all our premises. And I said, well, we have 6 different premise IDs, 2 of which are empty right now. We have our main one where the infection is on, and we have 3 other ones within maybe 1/3 of a mile to half a mile. And basically they wanted to know what our biosecurity plan was, what we were doing to follow it, if there was any shared contact, which there wasn't. And then they allowed us to test out of that, which we tested out on all 3 other premises.
So let me stop and get a thought in here. We have a very good ally and a gal named Abby Schuft. She is from Minnesota, I believe. And I'm going to put her email up here. She has volunteered to look over and assist any of our members with their biosecurity plan. You have to have some plan in place that here's where the birds are. We have a border here from these, and we're going to have certain people work on this part and certain people work over there. We disinfect before we go over to here. We have roads we can close to keep people, all sorts of things. You are in a unique place where you got a lot of roads going through, and you got to be able to shut those off. So Abby is a wonderful resource for us. So if we're talking to somebody who hasn't gotten a biosecurity plan down, so where could they go? Let's see, I believe we should have on our website, on our NorthAmericanGameBird.com website, a basic biosecurity plan. We've got files there that people can look through on avian influenza, on all of these ideas. We've talked about this since 2015 when the other outbreak came out. We started talking, we have published so much on it. So this is not new material. If you, the viewer, are new to this, go to our website, take a look at it all, and use Abby. Write that down. I'm going to take it off here in just a moment. All right.
And if it,
so, biosecurity plan, getting things set up. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it wouldn't have been for Dr. Cardona and Dr. Schuft, and then also two people from our Pennsylvania Department of Ag, that was Dr. Nan Hanshaw and Aaron Nesselrut. We just split up our premises in June of 23, 6 months before our diagnosis. Otherwise, everything would have went. And, you know, I listened to them. So, I mean, it pays to listen to people that know more than you.
Which is why people should be coming to the seminars that we have available. We have one coming up in March with the McFarland seminar, and I believe you're going to be there.
I'm looking forward to it. I've never been looking more forward to going to a convention, given that I wasn't able to make the last one.
Right. Why don't you tell us about that? What happened that you did not make it to the conference where you became president?
Well, I had the unfortunate experience of jumping out of a tree stand.
Ouch.
It happened January 6th. I actually slipped on 3 inches of snow. I was just about to the top of the deck, and I caught the banister temporarily for about a split second with my hand. And at that point, I had two choices. I could either fight and maybe fall on my back 18 feet, or I could jump. And I thought, if I'm going feet first. And I broke my tibia and fibula, unfortunately, and had to get surgery.
Ow, ow. That hurts just thinking about it.
I tried to finagle. I will say I tried to finagle the doctor every way I could to try to get to the conference, but in Orlando. But
if I remember correctly, you had surgery something like 4 days, 5 days before.
Yeah, 4 days.
And
4 days before.
The risk of blood clots and complications was just too much.
Yeah, that's what he's definitely advised, 100%. And after the way it felt, I got split open on both sides and got plates put.
Oh,
I can see why he advised that.
So where are you at now? What's your prognosis? Are you going to make it?
I'm going to make it. I don't think I'll be walking by the McFarland conference, but I'll probably be in a walking boot, hopefully.
And then what? Crutches, or you have one of those roller doozies?
Well, I don't know. I love tending chicks, honestly. That's one of my favorite things to do. And it keeps me out of the office, and and that's mid-April. And last time I was at the doctor, I said, do you think I'll be able to walk by mid-April normally? And they said, probably not yet. So we'll see if we can prove them wrong.
Yeah, you've done very well so far. Well, you've gone through a lot in the last just few months. I mean, realize as we recorded, it's February 25th. So that's basically 2 months. Christmas just 2 months ago. It seems like a lifetime ago, I would think.
It does. We were blessed with a lot of good people that helped us through this. You know, first thing we did was we prayed about it, my dad and me, when it happened, and that God would provide a way, and he did. And I just can't express enough about everybody that we dealt with on the ground. Was great to work with, whether they were our employees who stepped up, whether they were volunteers that came in to help, just friends, volunteers, former workers. We had a lot of them show. And then the USDA and the Pennsylvania Department of Ag folks, I mean, and Penn Ag Industries, it's our lobbying group in Pennsylvania. They came here on their own time, and they were just great to work with. And I can't say enough good things about all of them. And I think when something like this happens as an industry, I think we need to give these people a chance to work with them, because I think it's going to make things a lot easier for us when we sit down at the table with them, that, they realize, hey, these people take this serious, and they want to help. They want to do the right thing. They want to operate the right way. And I think that's the best for our industry.
They're wonderful people you never want to have to work with.
Well, we actually had an appreciation luncheon yesterday at our local fire company for the volunteers, and a lot of the Pennsylvania Department of Ag folks were there. And, we kind of joked around about that, hey, it was great getting to know you. We hope we never have to go through this again with you.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was definitely not, it was definitely a lot of very stressful days, without a doubt. In all seriousness, it's not something I ever want to go through again.
Right. And on top of that, to get hurt, on top of that, it's just.
Well, I'll be honest with you. If you could give me a choice of breaking the other leg versus not having that happen, I'd take break the other leg.
Yeah.
Because the depopulation and just everything we dealt with, that was more painful than breaking my leg.
At the national convention that we had just last month down in Orlando, you very transparently showed a video of the depopulation process. And I got to admit, I cried seeing those beautiful birds being depopulated. And it was hard. It was very hard to take. And I can't imagine being the workers who had put the work into that, having to go through that, being the owners,
And there were a lot of them that were upset about it and questioned, why did we have to destroy all these beautiful birds when we really had only one quadrant in the northwest corner of the pen that was sick with nothing else displaying symptoms. And, my reply was, it sucks, but they're following their own rules, and put yourself in their shoes. They had to make that decision. I mean, I did try, don't get me wrong. I did try
Yes.
I tried to plead my case. I said, hey, is there any way we can save the one side of the township road versus the other side? And then it came back to, two things. Number one, can you guarantee there was no potential cross-contamination in the last 14 days? And I had to honestly say, no, I can't, because there were some shared employees. We caught birds from both sides of the road at times. And then also they said, is it the same premise? And I said, yes, it is. And, right now, I mean, it is not what I wanted. I would have preferred to go in and just take one block out, sit 2 weeks, and try to test out of it and just sort of cordon that area off.
We've had a farm in the association who tried to get that on their whole, multiple barns. I won't give too many details, because it's all one premise ID. They were all destroyed, all depopulated. Face it, when we say depopulation or disinfect, we're talking about killing these birds. They are killed, they are composted or disposed of somehow, which is a huge project. And because it wasn't split, so getting this thought in place, like you said, 6 months ago, if you've been hit with this, you would have lost how many more birds?
Right.
Thinking, what can you do?
And I think that's another thing, in my term as president, I'd really like to see us as an association be able to educate people, because I was uneducated. I didn't know that we could split up different premise IDs and how we could do it. And essentially the more premise IDs that we can have in a, how do you want to say, like a manner that we can still operate, so to speak, that we have, the better we're at. Because Troy Loudenslager and I have talked about that, and he really worded it best. He said, if you're trying to sell customers that, not to go out and get multiple suppliers, if you have 6 different premise IDs, well, that's like having 6 different farms in a sense. So you are diversifying and spreading out your risk to your customers as well.
So for someone who's not familiar with this, what we're talking about, so you've got a home farm, and then you have a farm 2 miles away. You have another farm that is a mile to the south. Those can each be a premise with its own special NPIP number. And you treat them as separate farms. You have processes where you go in between where things are disinfected. When it's on the same property, do you have a road that goes through it? Do you have a way that you can separate these? You showed a chart, and there are there's a buffer area in between so that you can, it's sort of like with the Western fires. Do you have a buffer area where the fire can die out? Do you have an area where the disease can die out before it hits another pen? Right?
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
Right. So we're looking at doing that, and people on the whole don't know that. We had one hunting club operator who came to last year's event, went home and said, you know, we were going to take down this old breeder pen, but because we're buying birds now, let's leave that as an emergency spot. And they had birds in the barn. They had a load that came from another farm that was contaminated through no fault of their own. But because they had left that and they called it another premise, they were able to bring in birds and only lost, I think, 3 hunts. In a week, they were able to hunt again because they had somewhere else they could put birds. So that kind of thinking, we're also different. We have 500 members, let's say, 500 different producers. We all do it in a different way. We all have a different setup. We got to think about what we can do to protect our farm, our little acres. And so that's a wonderful point to bring out. Speaking of our membership, let's talk about that for a minute here. We have stressed over the last 2 years increasing the NAGA membership, getting people in. My little slogan was 100 more in 2024. I'd love to see it 100 or more new members. So when we have folks here, please, if you're not an NAGA member, please go to NorthAmericanGameBird.com, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and think about joining. We have everything from associate members, which are basically college students or somebody who only wants the magazine. If you've got a student at a college and they should be getting this information, you can get them a subscription to the magazine. Then we have basic, that I believe is at $100. And then we have business memberships. We have sponsor memberships. And then we have those of us who are really sold on the industry and are diamond sponsors. So please, if you're not a member, join. Okay. So ideas, information, issues, I think we've covered those. Inspiration.
Well, inspiration, I think you just touched on it. There is strength in numbers. And right now, more than ever, and I'll give you an example. I've talked to a lot of people over the years that, well, why should I really join NAGA? It's just for big growers, or it's just for hatcheries. It's not really involving hunting clubs or small game farms, for example. But, when you go back to 2022, the first HPA outbreak, and that gentleman was offered $6 per pheasant for indemnity. And our executive director, Rob Sexton, who's absolutely, we are just blessed to have him Amen. As our executive director, because he always advises us the right way. He knows what to do, when to do it, and when not to do it. And of course, right now, the indemnity, that was not a fair market value, and that's not going to keep somebody in business. We all knew that, but Rob knew how to go through the channels. And the membership, he advised us the right way, and we worked at it hard as a board. And right now it's $17.35 a pheasant, which is a fair market value. Right. So the more people that we have, that let's say more members, and that compounds. That's more people that know legislators that can help us. It's more people that know, that have contacts in agencies, whether it be federal or state. this thing, it all compounds. And we also have to prove as to why, why we, why we're a worthy industry to work with. And one thing I would, point out is we're a huge boon to the economy as an industry. Mm-hmm. If you talk about the supply chain and everything involved, feed companies, hunting clubs, dogs, we are a huge boon to the economy as an industry.
On the website, again, I keep pointing people back to the resources on the website. We have an economic survey study that was done on the hunting industry that lists this out. It probably needs to be updated because we are, if anything, we're bigger and we're more important than we were even back then, more of an impact. So knowing this, when we talk to our legislators and we say, by the way, I have this publication that shows you why you should care about your constituents, then here you go. Here's something you can hand to them. You mentioned contacts, and we have some really good advisors. You mentioned Dr. Carol Cardona. There are others that we have that are with us. And so because they're with us, they're also with all of our individual members. You have a question, you can contact Rob. Let me scroll Rob's information across here, rob@northamericangamebird.com. We've had more people come and say, I have this issue, I have this problem, what do I do? And as you said, Rob knows what to do. We are very blessed to have him. Going back to the cost per bird, the NAGA did a survey, and I did a live stream. The last live stream I did was on that concept that getting a fair value. The one that I just did was appealing game bird values. And my guest talked about this survey, and she said there were 297 people that we asked, and we got replies back from this, like 50, 60. We will be doing that survey again. So when it comes out, we need people to respond to it. You're not putting all your prices out there. You're putting them into a pot that can go to the USDA and say, these are our figures. This is what we are paying or selling our birds for, etc. Very much so. All right, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one other inspiration to being in this, to NAGA would be, let's say, in our case where one of my big concerns was our customers. Well, what were we going to do at that point? We had about 62% of our pheasant contracts fulfilled when we got hit with high path AI. We still had a lot of pheasants, to go out yet. Being a member of NAGA and being involved, was huge because there were so many people, so many friends and contacts that I've made in NAGA that reached out to me. Hey, I have a couple thousand birds, or hey, I have 5,000 birds, or hey, I got to wait, but I might have something at some point for you. Mm-hmm. And that allowed us to source our customers pretty much 100%. And, not only was it inspiring to be able to source our customers, but just the outreach that you get from people and all the good people that are willing to help each other out. It's not like they're sitting there laughing at you. Oh, well, I'm glad I didn't get it. Everybody feels. Right. And that means a lot.
It does. NAGA is good folks. That should be our banner. NAGA is good folks. When you're down, somebody's going to help you out. They are. Yeah. There's one other area of inspiration I want to bring up, and that is the John Mullen Scholarship. We have the NAGA and we have the NAGF. The NAGF is the research arm of it's a whole separate corporation, but it allows us to take money and use it for a scholarship program. We've had 5 in the past. 4 this year are going to go to NAGA members and progeny. So if you're the child or the grandchild of somebody who's an NAGA member, you're eligible to apply for that. Didn't Alana, your daughter? Yeah. Okay, and I think there's 2 way back then who qualified and were able to get the scholarship. We are going to do something a little different this year where we take 4 of those, go to NAGA members and progeny. 1 is going to go to a non-NAG affiliated winner. The reason being, There are a lot of kids out there in 4-H or FFA who have no idea who this industry is. Maybe they would do a game bird project. Maybe they would do, go into a college program raising game birds or working. There are at least 2 colleges I know of. Well, 3. You got Manhattan, Kansas, with the University of Kansas. You have Auburn University has some. Hocking Tech in Ohio has something along that line, a lot of outdoor activities. So there may be others that we don't know about, but we have somebody who's going into that. Or maybe they want to be a veterinarian, and we can encourage them to go into something like, a game bird vet. There are many people out there in poultry that have no concept that this is that big. So somebody either directly associated, they want to run a hunt club, they want to raise chukars, they want to become a game bird vet, they want to raise something, whatever it is. So we're looking at encouraging those folks. The problem is every 4-H club is a different entity. We can maybe contact them through the county chapter, the county extension office, and we're looking for that information. So I'm asking our viewers, our members, to contact us with contacts for FFA and 4-H. You can, I don't have mine on here. You can contact me, and I'll just tell you, it's Peg at Blue Skies Aviation. Blue is my last name. It's up there. Peg at blueskiesaviation.com, and give me an idea of any place that we can go. I think I've got Ohio covered. We have a contact in Idaho. Other than that, we have 48 more states to contact. And so I could really use your help. This scholarship is, it's due. The applications are due by May 15th, and I want it awarded by the end of the month or close to it. So that is our plea, the inspiration that you can help us with. All right, Mike, you have company. So, that's the ding dong. Hey, maybe we're done. So do you have any other topics that you want to talk about? We've been at this a little over half an hour.
No, I don't think so, Peg. I think we covered things pretty well. To your point on the FFA and the 4-H, I think it's important to get our name out there, because these are the same people that are going to be running these state agencies someday. Whether they're in the business or not, at least they will have an idea of what we do, and hopefully be accepting of what we do if we promote our industry correctly.
Very good point. Very good point. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate the
time
you've
Peg.
given me today. We're going to wrap this up, and we appreciate folks listening in to the YouTube channel or the Facebook page to like, to share, to subscribe, so that our impact is just that much better. Wonderful. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Peg. Take care.
You too.